Okay, guys, Justin Brock here, the Medicare Guru. I'm here with Ryan McMillan and Corey Jones over at Bankers Fidelity. They are, they've known them for a little while, known Ryan for a bit, and worked with Corey a bunch, and they're both great guys. And if you're not already working with Bankers Fidelity and you started to, if you ever had anything that you needed, I know that they would both be people to go to and help you out. So if you don't know them, well, you'll get to know them in this. We're going to take a minute to go over Bankers Fidelity's new cancer policy. They've had the cancer policy for a while, but they really made some improvements to it, filed it in a lot of new states. We've started writing it, and honestly, based on the kind of combination of the things we look at, like rate, look back periods, availability, commissions, things like that, collectively, it is our favorite senior market cancer policy, and even favorite in under 65 as well for us. So anyway, I'm going to let them go through it so you can get a good feel for it. And any questions that I have along the way, I'm going to ask them. And then, of course, this was not live, so any questions you have along the way, you can put them in the comments section below. And if I don't know the answer, I'll get back to Ryan or Corey and get an answer for you. So, all right, Ryan, how are you doing today?
Doing well, Justin. Appreciate you allowing us to take some time today and speaking. I'm Ryan McMillan, the VP of Sales for Bankers Fidelity. Also on here, we have Corey Jones, who is the Director of Partner Relations with Bankers Fidelity. So just want us to go ahead and get started here into the presentation. Shouldn't take too awful long, but again, we're Bankers Fidelity. We appreciate you all taking some time to look over this. This is just kind of the agenda. So we have the Bankers Fidelity story we're going to talk about briefly. We're going to talk about our Vantage Care product, which is our newer lump sum cancer product that we launched in January. And then how to write with us, and then also just some incentives that are out there that you guys are available for. So to get started, so Bankers Fidelity story. So our company actually started back in 1955. We are A- rated. And we do a plethora of different products, but today, as Justin mentioned, we wanted to focus on our cancer product. But we do also do Medicare supplement. We have final expense products as well, short-term care and hospital indemnity. So some of our story, we really base it around culture, our value, service. We are a smaller company, but we are very family-oriented, very close with our brokers, and really put a lot of pride and effort into our customer service. We always want to make sure that the client has a good experience and brokers as well. So we always try to work with integrity, with integrity to make sure we're doing the right thing for our clients at all points in time, and then with innovation. So we're always constantly trying to think of new ideas, new ways to help our brokers and clients out there. So we're always trying to come up with new technology and things of that nature moving forward. This is just kind of our product portfolio. So as I mentioned, we're talking about the Vantage Care. So it's our lump sum product that we have out there. And we'll get right into it. So to kind of give you an idea, a lot of you may have heard the stats out there on cancer, but it is a very, very prominent issue in the market. And hopefully we have this product that can fill those holes. But as you know, 1 out of every 2 men and 1 out of every 3 women can get cancer. And is the second leading cause of death in the U.S., exceeded only by heart disease. So it is a very important item. And the thing is that there's a lot of opportunity out there for cancer products, because a lot of agents, they haven't offered it. They haven't asked those questions. Maybe they're a little afraid of it. Some people are afraid to just even talk about it, because people don't like to talk about dying of cancer, getting cancer, things like that. But we're going to show you some methods that might help you kind of approach this subject. This is a product map. This just shows you where it's available in the United States. So as we said, we just launched this in January of this year, and we're constantly adding new states on. But where the blue there is where it's approved and released. And then the green, it's been approved. So for instance, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, that's been approved and getting ready to get released. And then it's filed in the goldish color, brown colored states there. It's filed, and hopefully some of those will become available soon. This is the product. So product highlights are the you can sell between the ages of 18 and 99. So a vast array of clientele, obviously there. Benefit commitments between $5,000 and $75,000. The nice thing with the product is that you actually it goes up in $1,000 increments instead of $5,000 chunks. So therefore, if someone wants $7,000, you can do so. If they want $13,000, they can do so. So it gives you a lot of opportunity and options there. We do have unisex rates. And then we also have coverage for individual, individual spouse, individual and children age 26, and then family rates. And depending on the state, depends on what riders are available. So not all states have all riders, but we're going to cover those here shortly. And then you can actually pick some of your different benefits. So we're going to go into that. So carcinoma in situ. A lot of people don't know what carcinoma in situ is. It is something that comes up with these cancer policies. So what carcinoma in situ is with our product, you need to pick 25% coverage or 100% coverage. Carcinoma in situ means it's cancer that has not metastasized within the body. It's confined to a specific location in the body, hasn't gone elsewhere. So, for instance, a lot of your breast cancers, they're carcinoma in situ. Prostate cancer is confined to your prostate and hasn't gone anywhere else. So, those coverages on a lot of plans out there are either covered at 100% or 25%. With ours, we give you that option. The reason is because carcinoma in situ tends to have as much treatment on the back end as your more invasive cancers. So what happens with that is that since some people don't want to utilize their full cancer benefit if it's carcinoma in situ because it doesn't take as much treatment. So that way we allow you to pick the 25% benefit, and that way you can actually potentially pick up more lump sum benefit dollar amount on the front end. So instead of a $5,000 policy, maybe you can pick up a $7,000 or $8,000 policy instead of doing the 100% carcinoma in situ. So there's some options there, some different options for you. We also have the optional heart and stroke benefit you can add on as well that would mirror your cancer benefit. So for instance, if you have a $10,000 cancer benefit, you can have a $10,000 heart and stroke benefit or less, okay? Here's some of the optional riders. So with the optional rider of the heart and stroke benefit that I just mentioned, here's how it works. Like I said, it can have the same benefit amount as your cancer product or less. So you have a $10,000 cancer benefit, the most you get to have on the heart and stroke is $10,000 or less. And then here's how it pays out. So it does pay out for other things than just major heart attack, okay? So it does pay out for aortic aneurysms, heart attacks, heart disease requiring heart transplant surgery, stroke, and sudden cardiac arrest. Sudden cardiac arrest is actually a big one because a lot of competition out there actually does not cover sudden cardiac arrest. It's just a specific way condition that if someone passes away from that, it's not actually considered a heart attack, and they don't code it as such, but they code it as a sudden cardiac arrest. So that is a selling point with our heart and stroke product. And then on the other side there, you see different percentages. So if you have cardiovascular disease requiring aortic or artery surgery, coronary artery bypass surgery, heart valve replacement or repair, we would actually give you 25% of your benefit amount. So if you had a $10,000 policy, we'd give you $2,500. And if you had angioplasty, we'd give you 10. And if you had a stent, we'd give you 15%. That's just to help you out if you do have one of those other conditions come up, to help you out with a little bit of financial relief, for that time, instead of just actually having to have one of the major situations occur. All right, here's some of the other optional riders. Like I said, the heart and stroke. We do have a specified disease rider, which we'll talk about. We do have a benefit builder rider, additional occurrence rider. That's a big one. That's probably added on about 90% of the time. What that means is that you can get an additional occurrence, basically double dipping in your policy. So let's say you had a $10,000 policy, cancer policy. You happen to get cancer. Okay? We pay you out that $10,000, and as some people are like, okay, well my policy's done. Well, that's not true. If you add on the additional occurrence rider, what happens is that bucket of money starts to fill back up. So you had a $10,000 policy, you had cancer, we pay that out. Then you have, you keep your policy because you have the additional occurrence rider. And then 2 years after you're in remission, you have 25% of that money back in your bucket. So your bucket starts to fill back up. After 5 years, you have 75%. After 10 years, you have 100% of that money back in your bucket. If at any time during those time periods you come down with the same cancer or a different cancer, we would pay out whatever's in that bucket. So it allows you to, again, get additional money, okay? Nice thing with the additional occurrence rider, people are like, well, how much is it? Well, for instance, on a $10,000 policy for a 65 to 69-year-old, it's like $1.60 or $1.85, something like that. It's very, very cheap. So to add on, and like I said, it's probably added on about 85 to 90% of the time. Okay. Then we also do have a wellness rider as well. Here's a specified disease benefit that you can pick. It works kind of like the heart and stroke. Basically, you can have the same amount as your cancer policy amount or less. But this does cover additional conditions if you're worried about those. So you can get blindness, coma, end-stage renal paralysis, things of that nature that people get worried about, that you can add on that as an optional benefit as well. The difference with this one too is the issue age is a little bit less. It's from 18 to 74. And then here's some of the other optional riders. So we do have a cancer hospitalization rider. So we'll pay up to 30 days of confinement per year. Okay, if you add that on. There's a second opinion and travel rider. Some people are like, oh, well, that's interesting. So a lot of the other policies out there won't pay for a second opinion. We will. And then also a lot of people, when they get services done and rendered, you know, it can be a strain because if you live outside of the metro area, a lot of times you're having to drive. You might have to stay in a hotel. You might have, you got to get food. All those different things add up very, very quickly in cost. And so we do have that travel rider that you can add on to it to help you with those costs. Then we have a cancer radiation and chemotherapy treatment rider that you can add on. That pays out like a schedule of benefits. So basically, if you have, chemotherapy, it'll pay, when you pick the benefit amounts, it'll pay out so much for each day of that. If you get confined to a hospital, things like that. So it has a schedule of benefits on there. And then ours, we have a skin cancer rider you can also add on. So all cancer policies out there, they will cover your melanomas, okay, but they're not going to cover your basal cell. So with your basal cell cancers, you can still get a cancer plan if you've had it, but if you get it when you have a cancer plan, it won't pay out, okay? So we added this additional rider so you can actually get some benefit from skin cancer if you were to get some basal cell cancer happen. So how do you sell it? People always ask them, how do you sell it? I'm not comfortable talking about it and things of that nature. Well, you really need to do a needs analysis with your folks. When I say needs, it's not NEEDS, right? It means now enjoy altered decision and solutions. Okay, what does that mean? Well, you ask them about what coverage they have now. What do they enjoy about their current coverage? What would they alter with their current coverage? And then who's the decision maker? Then you want to offer them a solution. Okay, it's just a sales tactic that you go out, you want to sit down and see. You want to find out what your clients are looking for. Because if you're sitting there talking about a product you're not meeting the needs of your client, they're never going to buy it, right? So you always want to ask that question. Also, another thing that tends to work really well is you want to identify if the client has a personal history with cancer or family and friends. I guarantee everybody on that listens to this knows somebody that cancer has affected their life, whether personally, a friend, family member, or not. For instance, myself, my mom has had breast cancer. She's a survivor, but I also lost a sister to leukemia when she was 32 years old. So it's affected my family quite a bit. But when I say identify if a client has a personal history with it, when you're doing your needs analysis in the beginning, it might always be nice to ask the question, hey, have anybody anybody that's ever had cancer? And they usually say yes. Just make a note of it. That's it. Just make a note. You don't go, oh, I have a product for you, okay? Just make a note of it. You go ahead and do your MAPD cell, you go ahead and do your med sub cell or whatever else. Once you button up that cell and it's done, you come back to that and you go, hey, by the way, you mentioned your father had cancer. Is that a concern for you? Yes, it is. Okay, well, guess what? We have a cancer product out there and this is how it works, and then you do your sales pitch, okay? It works very, very well and you tend to get a lot more sales out of that. We see about a 25 to 27% add-on rate. If you sell somebody like a MedSup or an MAPD, about 25 to 27% tend to buy a cancer product. So it's a very, 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 very good to do so. And again, you're not going to get it if you don't answer it or ask the question, right? Also, always reinstate the stats for cancer. One of the most important things out there that people don't realize is the American Medical Association came out with an article, I think it was in 2018, and it said 54% of all medical costs all cancer costs are non-medical. And you're like, what? It's like, yeah, 46% are medical, is a cost. 54% is non-medical. Well, what does that mean? Well, if you have to travel, like we mentioned before, if you have to, have somebody watch your kids, you have to board your pet, you have to do all these different things to help cover some of that cost. Loss of work. Some people have still work, right? They might have some short-term or long-term disability. But if you have short-term and long-term disability, it still doesn't cover your paycheck in full, right? It might cover it at 60%. Some of it have up to 70%. But what are you going to do with that lost income? Most people live paycheck to paycheck nowadays. So it's difficult. How are you going to make up for that lost income? Okay. And then again, ask the questions. You're never going to get the sale if you don't ask questions. Do you have cancer insurance? 95% of the people you talk to are going to say, no, what are you talking about? Okay. Other ones are going to be like, yeah, I have a small policy. I pay like $50 a month for a $3,000 policy. What? You can get a way better benefit-rich product for way cheaper just by doing that insurance review with them. Okay. So if you ask them, like I said, a lot of people are going to say, no, I don't have it. Some might say they do have it. If they do have it, that's when you ask them to do a policy review and say, okay, well, let's look at your policy and see what you have. Again, they might have a product that they are paying way expensive for that has very little benefit. Or some of the older cancer policies are going to say, hey, we're going to cover A, B, and C cancer, but not X, Y, and Z cancer. So you want to look for those holes. Then also, if they're taken care of and their product is good, you just say, hey, you have a good product and don't touch it, right? You can either maybe add on to it if they want more or leave it alone. But at least you did an insurance review with them and you're showing them your worth as an agent. You're saying, hey, I did this review with you. I just want to make sure you're taken care of, so on and so forth. But, you just want to make sure you always take care of your client. The underwriting's reasonable. When I say the underwriting's reasonable, these are very easy to sell. They have 3 health questions. If you just want the base cancer plan, there is more health questions if you add on the heart and stroke and if you add on like the specified disease rider and things like that. But if you're just selling the cancer product, it's do you have HIV or AIDS? In the last 5 years, have you had cancer? So it's only a 5-year look back. And then it asks the question, the last 2 years, have you been advised by a doctor to go get a diagnostic test to rule out cancer and you have not done so? That's it. Very easy to underwrite, okay? And then the commission is worth it. We pay the highest commission out in the market as well. So it's something to definitely look at. So people also say, okay, well, if they have a med sup, those cover everything. That's a big common misconception. Med subs have a lot of gaps in them that people don't realize. Like, well, what kind of gaps? Well, gaps are obviously prescription costs. Med subs don't cover prescription costs. You have to buy a separate PDP, but those still have maxed out pockets and things of that nature. So, lump sum cancer can help cover the cost of prescription drugs, and they get very expensive because more and more chemo drugs are actually going in the pill form now. Monthly bills, child care, animal care. If you have a senior, a lot of them have pets. Well, if they get hospitalized, who's going to take care of that animal, right? They might have to board that animal. Boarding an animal can cost anywhere from $25 to $50 a day. You get very expensive very, very quickly. Child care, you're hospitalized and you're a single parent. Or even if you are married, the other one might still have to work. Who's going to watch your children after school and things of that nature? So very expensive. I already mentioned monthly bills. If you are hospitalized, that loss of income. Travel expenses. Mentioned this already, but say you want to go down to MD Anderson. Okay, well, you have a Medicare supplement. That's great. It doesn't cover your food. It's not going to cover your airfare. It's not going to cover your gas. It's not going to cover any of that. So how are you going to pay for it? A lot of people don't have that extra income. The clothing one, I put this on here because I actually had an agent approach me at a convention I did a presentation at. And he came up to me, he's like, hey, you should put clothing down on your list. I'm like, well, why is that? I'm just not thinking. And he's like, actually, he had cancer. He's like, I had cancer about 10 years ago. And he's like, and I went on chemo and all this. He's like, I lost a ton of weight. He was a bigger gentleman. He's like, I've lost a ton of weight. He's like, I actually had to go out and buy all new clothes and suits and everything because nothing fit anymore. He's like, it's expensive to buy a whole brand new wardrobe. If you're talking everywhere, everything from underwear to shirts to suits to everything. He's like, it's thousands of dollars. He's like, you can tell I'm doing good now because I've gained it all back. So, but that's just something to think about. And again, 54% of cancer costs are all non-medical related. So that is something to always mention with your clients. Another one is experimental therapy. So if something's experimental, everybody wants the biggest, best, procedure done for what they have. And a lot of these hospitals and facilities do have new, awesome, treatment for specific cancers. And if they come in, they might say, hey, we have this new treatment. It's experimental, but it's working on 90% of the people that have your type of cancer. Do you want to do it? Yes, absolutely. Well, that's great and all, but the problem is that you don't realize, because it's not discussed, is that if it's considered experimental, it's not covered by Medicare. It's not covered by Medicare. It's not going to be covered by your Medicare supplement. So you're now going to have to foot that bill. So that's something to definitely think about. As far as an MAPD goes, okay, well, there's gaps in MAPDs, as you know. On all the MAPDs out there, there is a 20% cost of chemotherapy. So that's something that can get expensive real fast. Okay? Your max out-of-pocket exposure. Now, you know, MAPDs across the country vary in your max out-of-pocket exposure and by area. The most that a lot of kids have gone to it is at $6,700. Well, what happens if you get diagnosed with cancer in August or September, right? By the end of the year, you're probably going to hit your max out-of-pocket exposure. But what happens in January? It starts back over. So within a 9-10 month time frame, you could literally get hit with up to $13,400 or whatever your max out-of-pocket is in a fairly quick amount of time. A lot of people don't have $10,000 to $15,000 just sitting in their bank account ready to spend on medical costs. So these plans definitely come into play to help with those costs. Okay? Helps cover the gaps on the MAPDs for care, for instance, your per day in hospital, things of that nature. Now, your out-of-network costs. So there's a lot of PPOs that are out there as well, right? That's great. HMOs, PPOs for the MAPDs. Well, HMO, if you've got a network, you have no coverage. On a PPO, you can go out of network, which gives you more flexibility, which is awesome. The thing is, though, if you go out of network, you usually have a higher cost share. So, you know, if you're not ready for that, these can help with that as well. And then these can also be sold at the same time as an MAPD, which is nice, as long as you make sure you do your scope of appointment appropriately. Some additional sales opportunities. Remember, ask the question, do you want fries with that? Do you have cancer insurance? Is that something that interests you? Always ask the question. Again, you're not going to sell anything if you don't actually ask the question, right? So always ask the question. Keep it simple. The more and more complicated you make it, the more it's going to scare your client or they're going to be confused. They already don't understand insurance as it is. If you make it complicated, they're just going to, I'm not interested. Keep it simple, okay? Again, I would always go in with 2 or 3 options for your client. I have, you know, silver, gold, and bronze, silver, and gold. Which one would you like to do? Usually they're going to pick the middle one. So here's a $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 option. Here's a $7,000, $12,000, and $15,000 option. Whatever you tend to see after you get into this a little bit, but just make it simple for them. Okay. Again, the premium is affordable. They're some of the best premium rates out there. For instance, a $10,000 policy for a 65 to 69-year-old is $26.40. Okay. That's at 100% car settlements too. And then if you add on the, additional occurrence rider, it's another $1.60, I think it is. So very, very low cost. Okay. Again, the underwriting is low. It's very reasonable to the 3 questions, and then in the commission, it's worth it. You can add this on to every 4th client. You're paying for your lead costs. Okay, so think about that. It's just another way to generate income for you, to make more money and to also help grow your business. So writing with us, how do we do this? So we have online contracting available, and if you guys are interested, obviously reach out to Justin and get you hooked up. And our underwriting our contracting doesn't take very long. It's a big process. Okay. We have an agent portal with the e-app, and you can see your commissions and pending and current policy reporting. E-app, we're going to talk a little bit more about that. So within our portal, again, it has all of our forms and information, benefits. We have an underwriting app, which I'm going to show you guys what it looks like. We have online training available on there as well. Okay. So with our underwriting, you can do the e-app. You can email, fax, or mail applications. Our e-app is our quickest way, obviously. Preferred standard rates, that's for Med7, doesn't apply to this. Usually our applications, our turnaround time is within 2 to 3 days. Some days the same day, just depends on how much volume there is. Usually it's 2 or 3 days during AEP because that's our busiest time of year. And then also always make sure you look at your agent underwriting guideline. There's product specific underwriting inserts. So it'll tell you like our declinable drug lists and things of that nature that are always important to look at when you're writing these products. Okay. Phone interviews. Our phone interviews are done by exam 1 right now. We're in the process of potentially switching that. but it's going to be just a little bit before that is done. And then with the cancer product, you don't have to do a phone interview unless it's over $30,000, or if you add certain riders on and the dollar amount gets up there a little bit, that's when a phone interview is needed to be conducted, but it's not all the time. Okay. Again, so this screenshot here to the right shows you what our application or app tracker looks like. It's pretty ingenious. I'm going to show you some more screenshots of that. But one of the nice things that's also that we can do on our with Bankers Fidelity is that we actually will take. You can do monthly, you can do quarterly, semi-annual, or annual payment. We also do take bank draft, obviously, or we will also do a credit card. And credit card we will do for the initial payment, but we will also do it for reoccurring payment as well. We're one of the few out there that do offer that. So our app tracker, so this came to fruition because our head underwriter was ordering pizza one day, and he's like, hey, this looks like maybe we could do something like this for our applications when they're submitted. So we took the pizza tracker basically and turned it into an app tracker for us. So it's going to show you when you start submitting an application that you can actually go in and see when certain actions are completed. But if there's anything needed on your side, it's going to say if there's a form missing or whatnot. I'm just going to show you prescription records are done, when they're ordered, if there's a telephone record ordered or not. So to show you when things are in progress, if there's something that is waiting to be approved or not. But if it gets approved, it's going to come through and you can look it up and you'll be able to see if the approval date, the initial premium, when it's going to be drafted. You can pick a draft date between the 1st and the 28th of the month. And then you can print their card form right there if you want to. Now with that, this is a picture of myself. Obviously on a cancer plan, there's not a card to be printed because it doesn't work that way on a cancer plan, but it just shows you all the information when it was approved, which is nice. Now, if we happen to come to you and we say, hey, by the way, they take this particular drug and it's a declinable drug on the declinable drug list. Well, this is a field that's right underneath the app tracker. And if you have a letter from a doctor or something like that says, hey, they don't take this drug for this condition, it's actually for this condition, or for some reason it gets declined or back in because something pops up on our radar, but you have a letter from the doctor stating that they're in good shape, or whatever it may be. You can type some comments in, and you can drop and drag a file right into that client's folder, right there, and it goes straight to the underwriter that is working on the case. You don't have to email it securely or fax it or anything of that nature. You can just go right into your client's record, drop the file right there. Excuse me. The underwriter has it, and it's done. Okay, and they can usually overturn those or get the information they need very, very quickly. It's just an easy way to get information to us. And not cause a lot of harm or foul on your side or take a lot of time on your side, okay? Again, our e-app, you can track your submitted applications, things like that. You can see everything that's come through. You can download your apps after they've been submitted if you want to keep a paper copy for a file or whatever else. It's just all very fast and easy to use. You can add additional applicants on there if you're doing a husband and wife. Just everything on there is very, very easy. This is some screenshots of what it looks like. So it's going to show you if your client's name. It's going to show you if their age. If there is a policy fee on the product or not. Things like that, and then what their premiums can be. So you can just go through. It just makes it really nice and easy. Some of our agent incentives. So we do have what's called an app to reward. App to reward is a bonus program we have that once you write 5 applications with us on the ancillary side, you get $50 per app. So that counts for hospital indemnity, short-term care, obviously our cancer, our life. Once you write 5 and you can go in and request it to be paid out, and you can get that. This runs continuously. So on top of the top line commission, makes it for a very, very nice payment for you guys. Then also we do have our sales leader conference. I would take this with a little bit of a grain of salt because we don't know if this is still going to happen with our current State of the Union with the COVID situation. But this is where we would like to still go to as long as it still happens. Hopefully it can continue on. But just to talk about it, it's at the Langham Hotel in London, May 15th through the 20th of 2021. You actually get 3-to-1 credit on ancillary products, so it makes it very nice. So cancer, you can get 3-to-1 credit for that. Everything else, for cancer, hip, and short-term care, same way for all 3-to-1 credit, and then that stuff is 1-for-1. So our qualification requirements aren't a lot. As an agent, it's $135,000, so it makes it very, very nice and easy to obtain. Besides that, there's our contact information for our different departments. You can literally call and get somebody on the phone pretty easily. But this has agent support team, our new contracts, then is general business, underwriting, and policyholder services. And then we also, there's my contact information down below and Corey's. So that's my cell phone number. So you can call me. You take phone calls up to 11 o'clock at night. So, right now I'm not traveling that much, so I'm available pretty much all the time. So I appreciate your time.
Yeah. So just see something really quick. One of the things when you were saying that you're talking about drugs, I'd add this slide in here just to show everybody. This is a Kaiser Family Foundation slide. Have you seen this one, Ryan?
I have not.
So this is out-of-pocket costs for Part D enrollees for selected cancer medications. And this is showing below and above the catastrophic Part D threshold, what someone's expense would be on some of these drugs that are out there right now. Revlimid is actually a really common one. So that's a potential annual out-of-pocket with a Part D plan for someone there. So as you can see, the $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 cancer policy would be very, very helpful if someone had to pay any of these. So, and there's some out there that aren't even on this list that we have had customers that have had. I have a customer right now taking Revlimid, and I think she's ended up paying like in the catastrophic threshold, like $800 or $900 a month out of pocket on her own. So
yeah.
So it's a real thing, and that's why we sell it with MedSup a lot. A lot of people ask us that over and over. It seems like every time I answer that question, somebody else pops up asking it. But why do you sell it with MedSup? Same thing. Yeah, I mean, we're selling it with MedSups because there are people that get these massively expensive medications. There are people that have to go to MD Anderson. And I tell people I've never had somebody that got diagnosed with cancer that I handed a $10,000, $15,000, or $20,000 check to that was mad at me for it, So, and it's kind of like too, if you're offering it, some people are afraid to offer it because they're afraid someone's going to be mad at them for trying to sell them something. Reality check, you're a salesperson. But if you really think that, then when you go to a restaurant and the waitress or the waiter hands you that dessert menu, do you slap it out of their hand and say, "How dare you offer me dessert?" So, no, you don't, and people generally are not upset about it. So anyway, that's my take on it, and I think this would be a really helpful slide too if you check it out. You can Google, what is it, cancer drug with Part D expenses, Kaiser Family Foundation, and it'll pop up. It's an article written last year, February 2019. So anyway, they're doing a lot with diabetes medications, but right now they have not done much for cancer medications, and I doubt they will because, when you have cancer, you want the newest medication out there because you want to not die. So
absolutely,
you're okay with $800 or $900 a month if you can figure out a way to pay it, but it'd be a lot more okay with it if you had a cancer policy that paid it for you. So I appreciate you guys taking the time to get on here, and I hope this helps some people understand some of the nuances of some of these cancer policies. I do think the Bankers Fidelity one is extremely competitive right now on rate. The way we see it, without kind of naming any names of other competitors or anything, we see it being the best combination of rate, compensation, and benefit package of the kind of big five cancer policies out there. So we've started trying to use it. I've written some of them now. We have some agents that are starting to write it. It's finally starting to catch on, and I think it'll be one of the go-to cancer policies in the future. So appreciate you guys taking the time out of your busy day, and I will try to get some more people writing this thing.
Thanks, Justin. We appreciate your time as well, sir.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.
All right, take care.